Hello, my name is Stephen Walther, and in this video I'm going to talk about ASP.NET MVC views and HTML helper methods. So let me start by talking about views. What is an MVC view? Well, if you've worked with technologies like Active Server Pages Classic or ASP.NET, then you're used to working with pages, and you use a page to contain the HTML and the content that you want to send back to a browser when someone makes a request for a page at your website. MVC doesn't have anything that's equivalent to pages, that's directly equivalent to pages. The closest thing that you have to a page in MVC is a view. Now, how is a view different from a page? Well, there's no direct correspondence between a URL and a view. There's no direct correspondence between what you type in your address bar and a view that you get back from an MVC application. The way it works in ASP.NET MVC is when you type in an address in your browser, that gets mapped over to a controller action, and then it's up to the controller action to decide what view to send back to the browser. Okay, so let me show you an example of that. I have, you'll notice right here, an open Visual Studio 2008 ASP.NET MVC application. It's the default one that you get, and it's written in Visual Basic. And you'll notice over here I have my models folder, my views folder, my controllers folder. That's the MVC in MVC. I'm going to go ahead and add a controller into my controllers folder. And I'm just going to call the new controller product controller. And what I want to do is I want to return a view from this controller action method called index that appears right here. Now, the easiest way to do that is just to type return view. And that's going to return a view. Now, it's going to infer the name of the view from the name of the controller action. So what this will do, by default, what it's going to do is it's going to return a view named index. So if I want to return a view, I need to go ahead and make that view, but I need to make it in the right location, or this stuff won't work. So what I need to do is I need to go to my views folder. I'm going to add a subfolder that has the same name as the controller I've just created. So I just created something called the product controller. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder called product, and in that folder I'm going to add a view that corresponds to the name of this controller action. So I'm going to create a new view called index. So I'm going to add in a MVC view page, and I'm going to name it index. There's my view page. I'm just going to type in some default content here. Hi, just so we know, it's actually working. And now if I run this application, it's going to ask whether I should run in debug mode. I'm going to say OK. If I run this application and then I use /product /index, notice I get my view. It says hi back to me. So that part's working. So the way it works is the way it works is corresponding to if I return a view from a controller action method, it's going to look for a view of the same name as the controller action in a folder that has the same name as the controller name. Now, if I wanted to be, I can be explicit about this. So I could actually say, I want to return a view called index. I can do that. Or, if I want to return another view, I could even return, a view called Fred. And in that case, now I'd have to add another ASPX file into my product folder and just name it Fred. And then this would return it when I called the index method. All right, but I'm going to change it back to the default case. And in this case, again, it's just going to infer that the name of the view is index. So let's switch over to the actual view and take a look at what the view looks like. So if you've worked with Active Server Pages Classic or ASP.NET, this view should look very familiar, right? I mean, it contains standard HTML. This is nice. It's actually XHTML compatible HTML. And inside the view, you could put scripts just like you would in an active server page, ASP page. For example, if I wanted to write out the current date and time, I can put response.write, have access to all the classes in the .NET framework, so I can response.write out the current date and time. Let me show you that this works. I'm going to open up this view. So I need to go to products/index, and notice I get the hi and then the current date and the time. Inside of a view, I can use the normal shortcut that I could to do response.write. So instead of using bracket % to execute a statement, I can use bracket % equal to as a shorthand for response.write. So this does the same thing, like this. Save it, and now if I hit refresh, again, it says hi, it says the date, it says the time. All of that works fine. Okay, so the special thing about working in a view is a view derives from the base view page class, and there's two properties of the base view page class that you need to be aware of, because you'll use them all the time when building a view. So the two properties are, first, there's the view data property, and that's going to be important to you because you use the view data property to get all of the data being sent over to the view from the controller action. So that's how you sort of pass things like database records or strings to display. Any of that stuff gets passed through the view data, so you need to know about the view data. The other property that you need to know about is the HTML property, and what the HTML property does is it exposes out an HTML helper. And the HTML helper has all of the methods that you need to be able to render out HTML if you don't want to type out all the tags yourself. Let's start by talking about view data. View data enables you to transport data from a controller action over to a view. So let's switch back to our product controller, and I'm going to modify our index controller action so that we can pass a message from the controller action over to the index view. Now, view data works like a dictionary, so I can say view data, pass in a key message equals hello from the controller, and that's all I have to do. Now within the actual view, I can get the value of message out by just passing in the message key. Let me go ahead and show you that. I'm going to switch back to index, and I'm going to take the date time now out and type in view data message, and now I can go ahead and run this. I'm going to type in product/index, and now notice I get hi, hello from the controller. So I was able to pass the message from the controller action over to the view. Now, this is a really simple example. More realistic example would be, passing database records. I could take the database records, I could stick those into the view data, and then, use the view data to transport the database records from the controller over to the view. The last thing I want to show you is how you can use HTML helper methods to make it easier to render out standard HTML tags. So the way this works is the HTML property exposed by the view page, that exposes something called the HTML helper class, and that has a bunch of HTML helper methods. You can call things like call HTML.textbox to render out a input type equals text tag, HTML.submit button to render out a standard form submit button in HTML. So these are really easy to use. Let me switch back to the view, and I'm going to get rid of the part where I display the view data. And let's just say that I want to render out, say a standard input type equals text box. All I have to do in order to do that is type HTML text box, and this is just a method call. So notice this is kind of cool. I'm getting full IntelliSense here as I use it. So I want to render out, say, a first name text box. So I can type out first name, type that in. Let me go ahead and run it. And I'm going to type product /index. And notice I do get a text box right here. So the HTML helper methods, just that all they do is they provide you with a shorthand syntax for writing out standard HTML tags. So they're definitely worth looking at if you want to reduce the amount of work you have to do to create like standard HTML forms. The other thing to be aware of is that you can, of course, create your own HTML helper methods. You can extend the basic set that Microsoft gives you by creating your own helper methods. So that's something that we look at in another video.